It was a while ago, wasn't it? No, a long time no seen. And I wish I put my sharp objects away, I guess. Well, it was a long time ago, and yes, I am filming with my camera, because that was a long time ago. And welcome to some Path of Exile at least. And I just going to play my actually improved Duelist. Let's talk a little bit. Well, let's see, what low level map should I play? This map? Maybe this map? Player cannot regenerate life. That sounds fun. A bit too much fun, so let's just re-roll that crap. I wish I could actually re-roll this one, but it's corrupted. Let's just re-roll this one. Player curse when enfeebled. I said re-roll to something fun. Elemental weakness. Why not? What can possibly go wrong if you do that? I'm not gonna play that, and well, let's see if we can play this Alloys map. This is actually the first time actually recording when... Oh yeah, I forgot. I've been playing so much Diablo 2 right now that I'm trying to use the same button as Diablo 2. What is wrong with me? So, many of you may ask now, where is that bloody video which you told us you should do on your crit build in the league? Well, now I'm going to be honest, I have pretty much not even played the league. I don't know why, I just don't really feel for playing Path of Exile. And I have said that like 10 million times, I guess. So, no surprise that. And it's not because the update is bad, it's just that it's what it is, I wanna say. I think I have just lost interest in Path of Exile for now, and that's not the game's fault. And that's pretty much when I'm saying those words, I probably just killed my entire already dead YouTube channel, but making some videos at least. And I like the changes and all of that. It's not that's the problem, it's just that so many years of playing, and well, the game is still fantastic, I wanna say. I have nothing to complain about. That's actually the problem. Why should I complain about Path of Exile? There is nothing to complain about, because the game, I have just been a little bit tired of the game, and that is actually after a long time. Why does it feel like every video I'm doing I just saying that how tired I am in Path of Exile, and I just ending up doing another video on that all the time? I should probably just stop doing that, just stop complaining all the time. I should do that. I'm getting annoyed by people that complains about games all the time, so and now I'm doing the same thing. But I don't know why, to be more precisely. But I will do this, of course, in the end of this video. I know that many of you guys actually like my Duelist. My most made video I have ever done is with this old-fashioned character I'm playing right now. And many of you seems to like the good old-fashioned Duelist, so how can I not make a video on one of my all-time favorite builds in the game as well, for my personal enjoyment. The time of this type of build it's long gone, I wanna say, compared to today's build, which is far more powerful, and I have quite outdated gear, I wanna say. You could probably improve this build in a lot of things. Many of you seems to like the more casual orientated, you don't need the godlike gear to make it work. So, and I appreciate that. So, at a little bit later in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the build and be a little bit of a rudimentary build guide, you can say it like that. After I beat up the boss on this map, of course, which I know will do fire damage. And when it comes to fire damage, how much resistance do I have to fire? The fire resistance is completely fine, so it should be nothing to worry about. I still do quite good damage, but again, not as today's build. Not because I know that much about today's build, because I have absolutely no idea what the meta are in Path of Exile or anything. Which, that was a long time ago since I know anything about the meta of Path of Exile. But you don't have to do it, just to have some fun. And there we go, you are beaten, boss. So I'm going to do a rudimentary build guide right now, which I don't usually do, but I'm going to try to be straightforward at least. So if you watch any of my old videos of my Duelist, the gear is pretty much the same. What you want for your weapon is the usual. You want as high attack speed as you can afford and get, and as high physical damage you can get. And you want swords. Doesn't matter what type of swords, just so you get the strongest swords you can get, with the most amount of physical damage and attack speed. That's the only important stat, because this is a non-crit build. So both my weapon just have high physical damage and as high as I can afford and can get attack speed. For my helmet, just the usual life and the resistance you need, and as good armor as you can get. For your rings and even amulets, well, try to get an amulet and rings which have the resistance you need, life, and some damage, like added physical damage like this one have. This one also have increased melee damage, increased melee strike range. And my rings is also the same. I also have some dexterity on my rings because I needed it for some of my weapons. And of course the resistance you might need. And also, as you can see on this ring right here, try to get some of physical damage is leached as mana. If you don't have that, you can take it in the skill tree, but you can save some skill points by having it on your rings, and I think you can even have it on your gloves as well. For my gloves, in this particular order, I'm using a spike gloves, which is the best one because they have increased physical damage on them. But this pair also have added physical damage, and also have some nice resistance and some life and some strength, which is always helpful. And if you can afford it, if you can get some attack speed on them as well, that would be amazing. For my armor, this is the only unique armor I have, which is a unique piece of item I'm really recommending you have in this build, which is Belly of the Beast. It's not a must-have. Rare armor with really good life and armor value on would be really nice as well. But I like the increased maximum life on this one. Also some resistance. But a 6-link Belly of the Beast is not the cheapest thing, so if you're on a budget, try to get a rare armor which have the best life and the best life and armor values you can get. Evasion rating is quite nice as well, because I'm going to show in the skill tree. You can convert invasion into armor with, I think it was iron reflexes in the skill tree. And of course try to get a 6-link. And the resistance you might need if they are not maxed out. For my boots, just have life and resistance, and some movement speed is really nice as well. So it's quite basic, and some good armor if you can. And finally, my belt. I happen to use a rustic stash, I can't pronounce that, with some really good resistance on actually, and some life. And if you can, try to get a belt which also have some armor on it as well for that extra protection. For my flask, I'm using 2 life flasks, one which removes bleeding when used, which is quite nice, which is actually really nice. And another one that removes bleeding, because I absolutely hate bleeding to death when attacking corrupted blood enemies. So having an anti-bleed flask can save your life more than one time. You also happen to use a Lion's Roar. It's not a must flask, but it's a really nice flask and gives you some good damage on it. Also using a sulfur flask, I think it's actually called sulfur, which create consecrated ground on effect, increased damage, and some other good stuff. It's not a must-have, but I like that flask. I also have a basalt flask for some extra physical protection, or actually more armor, to be more precise. And that was my basic overview on my gear. You don't have to have the same gear, but have something similar really helps. And this gear, as I said before, this gear can be a bit outdated, because there are some effects on newer gear that I don't have on my... This is quite old gear I have on this character, just so everyone is aware of that. If we can actually now talk about the big thing when it comes to builds, which is the skill tree, and the new beautiful skill tree they introduced in the last big update, let's start from the beginning. Start by taking the physical damage in the beginning, then the attack speed and accuracy. And I pretty much just maxed out everything here in the near tree, like the physical damage and the attack speed and armor evasion and life. But I took these 4 notes here, these attack speed notes here, and these physical damage notes here, a lot later in the skill tree, because you have a bit to cover. I also took Master of Arena, Bravery, for some more life and protection, and Art of the Gladiator to get some increased attack speed and some ignore movement penalty from armor, some little bit of fluff stuff, but it's a good note in my opinion. I also took Devilish, for of course I'm a dual wield build, so I get some nice chance to block, increase damage and attack speed. And I went down here, I took Might and Influence. When it comes to this build, I am currently using Dual Strike, but this build will work quite well with Cleave as well. And if you're using Cleave, just change out this Yule into Might and Influence instead. Actually, sorry, Might and Influence is this one. Overwhelming Odds. I think I can put it on screen right there, if you want to use Cleave instead. It's also a quite good choice. This build can use other skills, but I really like Dual Strike, so I'm going with that. Moving on, I went down in the tree, I took some whatever this one is called. It gave me some damage, alright? That's the only thing you need to know. Then I took Swagger, I think it is called Swagger. Some block chance, which is always nice to have. And also you're getting frenzy charges when you block, which is also a quite nice bonus. And to get to Blade Barrier for some even more chance to block, and also doing some extra damage. And Ember Dexterity for even more fun. And then I took a Blade Dancer. And here we had once upon a time Iron Reflexes, but that one is changed now. I just realized that. But you know, I talked about that 0.22% of physical damage leaches as mana. Well, if you don't have a ring or a source which have that mod on it, you can just take this note here, and get to this note here, Life and Mana Leech. And if you're gonna go here, you can take Vitality Void as well. And if you're really struggling on mana, you have Spirit Void here to get some nice amount of mana when you're attacking. So that is an option if you don't want to get a ring like this. Or I think, as I said before, I think they actually exist on the gloves as well. And on amulets, if I remember right. But getting this note here is an option, especially in early game. If you have if you need to get your mana under control, you can just take this note here, and get this Life and Mana Leech note here. So moving on in the tree, I also went down here, and here we have Iron Reflexes, and I forgot to just change it there because under all the years I've been playing Path of Exile, Iron Reflexes have been in this area of the tree. But now it's here, and Iron Reflexes is not a must-have. But it makes you more flexible in gear. You don't need to take this one if you don't have any evasion on your gear. I have evasion on my armor here, so it's not strictly necessary. So if you want to save a point, you don't have to take Iron Reflexes. And but as well, I took Glon's Blood and Cloak and Chain for some nice protection. Also increased my evasion, by the way. Moving on, I went for Unwavering Stance, and this is what I said before, that I am not a crit build. It's because I am using Unwavering Stance. So enemies can't invade my attack. I have 100% accuracy. Attacks cannot be unwavering. I am tired. Just saying wrong. Enemies cannot evade enemies' attacks and cannot be stunned. So when you're taking this one, you can't dodge attacks and enemies can't stun you. So I like this one. So I took it for that reason. And I should really go to bed. I have a Yule socket here with some block chance, increased melee damage, and increased attack damage when dual wielding. And also have the whole big UC life wheel here for that extra survivability. Moving on to the Marauder area. Marauder area I usually go mostly for the life, like Warrior's Blood, and then I went all the way to take these life and armor notes here. Also have Heart of the Warrior, Born to Fight, so for some nice damage. Also took a detour here, took Lust for Carnage, because it gave me a good amount of attack speed, and also some physical damage, leeches as life, and increased total recovery per second per leeched life. You know, the good stuff. And then I went to took Strong Arm, Warrior Training, for some extra AoE. Then I went for Barbarism, and I went for Resolute Technique. Hits can't be evaded and never deals critical strike. Which means if I have this one, I can't crit and I can't miss either. I just forget it. I mixed this one with this one together. How can I be so stupid? Anyway, I also took some bleeding note here. It increased some my bleeding damage. It's not a must-have, but I like some extra damage on my bleeding. I also took this note here, which have increased chance to block attacks with dual wielding, increased damage with dual wielding, and increased attack speed. You can have life on these Duelists as well, but if you have life on them, they tend to be quite more expensive. I also have Juggernaut for some extra armor and extra life. And I took Razor's Edge and Blade Master. And that's pretty much my passive skill tree. And I'm going to have a link in the description to where you can find this tree if you are interested in it. But let's take a look at my Ascendancy tree as well, which is quite straightforward. I went for more defensive route as a gladiator. So I went for Painforge for some more chance to block attacks, cannot be stunned when hits when you block, your counterattacks deal double damage, some good stuff. I also took Raging Veteran, is that the right way to call it? It's a good stuff. It's some good stuff for some more block chance, and I really love blocks in this game. I also took Violent Retaliation. Attacks, damage that luckily if you are blocked in the past 30 seconds, hits ignore enemy monsters physical reduction if you're blocked in the past, some good stuff at least. And also Blood in the Eye for some really good chance to curse the bleeding. And maim against bleeding enemies, inflict the chance to blind with hits against bleeding enemies. Enemies maimed by you take increased damage. I have actually one question when I think about it. I'm using swords, so if I hit an enemy, should not swords have like guaranteed bleed chance because there are some sharp objects, like the knife I showed earlier? They should curse bleeding always. But again, it's a video game, so I should not read into that too much. But that's my skill tree, so let's take a look at the other important stuff, which is my skill gems. Let's talk about my main damage setup. My good old trusted Dual Strike. Dual Strike are supported by Brutality, Fortify, Melee Physical Damage, because of course, Maim, and Raged. Because I'm attacking quite fast and I'm getting up my Rage stack fairly quickly. Also, by the way, I'm using Brutality, and that have one negative effect. I deal no Chaos damage and no Elemental damage. So even though my weapon actually do some lightning damage, that damage will not be counted in my attack. And that's pretty much my setup for my main damage skill. If you want to use Cleave instead, just change out Dual Strike. And for my other setups, if I remember which one I wear, I'm using Blood Rage, of course, to get me that extra attack speed and life leech and all that fun stuff. I'm also using Pride because to weaken enemies near me and they take more physical damage. It's a really good skill, and I pretty much want to use it in every physical damage build I ever do, especially melee ones. Also use a Halo of Purity, again for that extra physical damage increase. I also have some minions, they also summon some minions which take up some damage from the enemies. When it comes to my other skill setups, I'm using a Riposte. You saw before, you're doing double counterattack damage. And I'm using Riposte with a chance to bleed and melee physical damage. Because why not you make your Riposte do even more damage than before. I'm also using Vengeance, which I don't remember what... Here's my Vengeance setup. Vengeance together with melee physical damage, life leech for some extra life, and life gain and hit, because why not? Also using cost and damage taken setup, which is a level 1 cost and damage taken, supporting 1 increased duration, 1 vortex, and creeping frost, just to slow down enemies around me. I'm using some movement skill, which is Whirling Blades, which is this attack right here. This is what I'm mainly using to get into round places. Also using Leap Slam. And they are both supported by faster attacks. Also Blood and Sand, which I almost forgot. Which I have here, which you can change between either having more area of effect or less area of effect and more area damage. It's a compromise. You lose one by changing to the other ones. You can just switch between that if you want some more single target damage or you just want some more AoE damage. So it's some quite good stuff right there. And I think that's my entire skill tree. This is not as in-depth as I usually do my videos, but I hope you guys like my video. Anyway, you saw what I can do, and should I actually show this? Alright, yes, because I can. My hard-on spent cash I've gone through. This is my well, microtransaction I'm using, which is absolutely completely necessary for making a good build in Path of Exile. I'm joking, of course, but I'm using the Crypt Sword, the German helmet, which I can't even get anymore. You can't get this one anymore, and I'm quite sure you can't get this one anymore. So now you know that. So now you have seen what I've spent my hard-on cash on. But anyway, I hope you guys like this video. It was not really a build guide in the normal sense I used to do, but I just want to do some video and show off one of my all-time favorite build. I don't making videos that often anymore, but I figure out I can at least do something. But anyway, thank you for watching. Tell me in the comments what you think about my very old and classical dual build, and I might actually do a even more proper build guide and a little bit more constructed maybe in the future on this character, but I don't know when that will be. And I hope you guys liked the video, and thanks for watching, everyone.